Getting started, we had some issues with our webcast, so it's all up and running now. First item of business is to adopt the agenda as published.
Move. Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. We do have a public hearing at 6:30, so if we haven't completed our council agenda by that time, we'll be adjourned to the public hearing in this venue. Two delegations this evening. The first one is David Edmondson regarding 1823 Buena Vista Avenue. David, thank you for coming. I understand you're here principally to answer any questions there may be.
Yes.
If you wish, you may make a presentation.
Sure, thanks. It won't take long. There's a whole bunch of pickleballers here. Yes, sir. So yes, Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm not here to make a big presentation or anything. I think you all have the paperwork we've provided in regards to the proposed coach house on our property at 1823 Buena Vista. My family and I have lived there for about 15 years, 16 actually, and we love it there. And my mom is from London, Ontario, and her and her husband and my family are super close, and unfortunately he passed away last summer. And we'd like to build a little coach house on our property for my mom to live in and be close to her granddaughters. I've got a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, and we're all super tight. And we thought it'd be a good way for her to be close to the family and age in place, and have a coach house that is really quite tastefully designed and in keeping with kind of the heritage feel of Buena Vista and the town of Comox. And hopefully we'll all be there for many, many years. So I don't know if you have any questions about the plans we've provided or anything like that, but that's kind of what it's all about.
Okay, a few questions. We'll start with Councillor Swift and Rath and Price.
Thank you, and that was a very thorough application, and it looks like a great little development, so I'm generally in favor of it. I noticed there was one concern, I guess, about the access, and I was just wondering if the businesses and neighbors have been informed regarding that.
I don't believe the businesses and neighbors have been approached yet. In terms of access, right now there's been a long-standing lane access to our garage that, since it was built, I think in 1947. I understand, talking to Regina in the planning department, that the town is under no obligation to keep that lane going forever and ever should somebody purchase the buildings in front of my garage at a later date. There is the possibility that we could lose the lane access to the garage, which the garage will be gone once we build the coach house, so we would lose access to the coach house. But I guess at the end of the day, that's a sort of a risk we're prepared to take, or an avenue we're prepared to go down should that ever occur. But yeah, that's the information we've been provided thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Rath?
Yeah, my question was just wondering if you'd had any conversations with the neighbors. I know there's some commercial properties right around that area, and whether that's going to affect what goes on there.
I've talked to a few of my neighbors, and no one has voiced any objections to it. Fortunately, everybody seems to have pretty large lots on Buena Vista. I know there's talk of a business going nearby in the old church building that used to be a daycare. And personally, that I've chosen to live downtown. I've chosen to be in the downtown of Comox, and should a business like that go beside us, I'm
quite supportive. Just like the Church Street Bakery, the church bakery that's nearby. I think it adds to the vibrancy of the downtown, and I don't feel it poses a risk or a detriment to the development that we'd like to have.
Fair enough, because it's our bylaw guy that gets the calls later, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I asked.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks.
Councillor Price?
And my question too is around the neighbors, and it's always nice to know that people are on side. So at some point,
Well, I've talked to the neighbors on the one side, the Burrs, they own huge properties, you're all probably aware, and they're comfortable with the proposed development. And also my neighbors to the immediate side, the Hammonds, Russ and Flo, lived there for years, and now their daughter and son-in-law, and they're in favor. And I've talked to neighbors across the street and on the corner, so I haven't met with any reluctance or any negative comments thus far.
great, thank you. And it looks a great design.
Yeah, we're really excited. I think it looks really cute. So.
Yes, Councillor Rath?
Yeah, I was going to ask this question actually a little bit later to the planner, but since we're already talking about the building and that it's somewhat surrounded by commercial, are you doing anything that perhaps would alleviate any noise that may come from those commercial areas? Are you building the house maybe with triple pane windows, or that kind of stuff, so that down the road, maybe whoever's living in there, if they're having concerns with noise, that you've already been a little more proactive in that, because it's so close to the end, to the lake.
It's true, and I have a garage there right now that unfortunately we're going to remove so we can build the coach house. We hired John Gower as a designer to assist us with the building, and he's been really invaluable. So we have considered and incorporated, triple pane windows and fencing. We're going to add lots of foliage. At the end of the day, though, I did live in Kitsilano before I had the good fortune to move here. And again, if you choose to live downtown, you've got to take the good with the bad. And if there is it's a remarkable how quiet that area gets in the evenings. And part of the appeal of that particular spot for my mom and for us is being able to walk out the end door and be near all the restaurants and activities. So we're going to do everything we can to make it aesthetically appealing and also as quiet as possible.
Perfect.
And are trying to incorporate that in the plans.
Great attitude, thanks.
Yeah.
Councilor McKinnon.
Yes, as you probably know from your research, is that part of our OCP was to encourage infill in the downtown core. Appreciate you following these tick-off steps to check with neighbors, and your design can be one of the ones we can use as a model if it's done well, and promote our OCP plan to encourage infill in our downtown.
All right. Councilor Margaret. That's an S. So
No, I'm fine. I approve. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful design. It's going to be a big addition to our town.
can't approve it yet. We have a public hearing.
Barb says it's okay.
We're supposed to have an open mind.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Evanson, for your presentation, and we'll be dealing with the initial stages of your application here shortly as part of this meeting.
Great, thank you. I hope you don't see me as rude, but I've got to go to a soccer meeting now. Plus, there's a lot of pickleballers here that compete. Thanks very much for your time.
All right, Steve Chambers is here from the Pickleball Association to talk to us about advancement of pickleball. And Mr. Austin, you're right in the way there of the presentation.
Does some of the councils want to move around and get a...
They'll do that as they see fit, yeah.
Sure. And you take what you're about.
All right, welcome. As you know, you have 10 minutes for your presentation, including questions from members of council, so we'll let you carry on.
Sure. I'm calling this presentation the partnership of the town of Comox and the Comox Valley Pickleball Association. I have to say thank you very much for providing us an opportunity to be here this evening. And my first, there we are. Or better yet, maybe the pending marriage of the two organizations.
Is that you?
Welcome to the wedding rehearsal. It's only a rehearsal. You are not underdressed. First, let me tell you a little bit about our bride and groom, as I see members from both sides of the family are here this evening. Our bride, the Comox Valley Pickleball Association, is young and inexperienced, and some might say naive. But like the sport itself, she has lots of fun, and like most youngsters, wants things done in a hurry, and is very jealous of her older sister, Tennis, whom Mom and Dad like best. Our groom, the town of Comox, is much older and wiser. This is not his first spin on the merry-go-round. Like most older men, he feels the weight of the world on his shoulders. Some may say initial infatuation, after the initial infatuation might be losing interest. It's hard to keep your eyes off other-looking babes like Mrs. Robb, Mrs. Brady, and of course Mrs. Waterpark. Why is he now suggesting that the bride calls the best buddy the regional district? How did these two come to meet, and what is their history? They were formally introduced in this very room on April 8th of last year. They quickly decided to move in together and share the cost of a feasibility report 50-50. The bride provided her share of the down payment in July. The groom took the money and said, "Don't worry, I'll get it done," but was vague and non-committal as to when, and the bride is still living at home. The bride understood from the beginning that the groom had heavy financial responsibilities and that she would have to bring her own resources to the relationship. But the groom never made it clear what that share would have to be. The bride asked for support by way of letters to assist in seeking additional financial resources, basically to confirm the existence of the relationship and that there was a wedding plan. The groom provided the letters, but was careful never to say the words, "Will you marry me?" The bride began to have doubts about the relationship, or at least the timing of the wedding, when the groom refused to make similar attempts to procure external sources of funds for revenue. The bride went forth anyway, and with great effort found significant financial resources. This was great news. Surely this would get the church bells ringing and warm the cold feet of the groom. This brings us to this gathering. Will there be a wedding anytime soon? It's up to you. Please don't leave the bride stand alone at the net. That's our presentation.
All right, any questions from members of council?
Yes, Ken.
Councilor Grant?
Do you have any idea how much a pickleball court would cost?
Yes, we have some. I think the key thing is its excavation. If we had a flat site that had the soil strength to support a court, I would suggest that we could put on a single court for $15,000, multiply it by 6, or actually $10,000, and multiply the 6, $60,000. That is a bare bones flat court, likely with some work to be done down the road. Nothing fancy in terms of painting, pretty substandard fencing, but it would probably do the trick. The tickle in that question is what's below the ground, and that's where I think we're all struggling currently. Does that help you, Tim?
Well, I'm really struggling with, I guess that's my problem here, is that, the estimates that, and we don't really have estimates, but, when we look at work and the things that we're doing, that seems really light. And we have to really look after the taxpayers' dollars, and we can't get into doing things that are half-assed or not properly done. If we're going to do them, we have to do them right. We have to have them engineered. We have to make sure that we have plans, and we have to do it so that it actually works and we're not wasting the rest of our town's money on it. And when I asked Richard earlier today what it would cost, he was somewhere in the $150,000 to $200,000 range. So that's a huge difference.
It is.
And that's a problem that, for me, that I'm struggling with how you could do it for as low as you can. I'm hoping it's not as high as his. But we have to be responsible with the money. And so when we go to apply for grants and when we look for other sources of income, we have to be ready to go. In other words, shovel ready is the key. That means we need our engineering done. We need our drawings done. Because the reason they do that is they're worried about cost overruns, and they're worried about 5 years down the road when we didn't quite do it right. Now we got to go back and fix it, and all of those things. So, when you say that we're moving slowly or not being involved, that's why we're doing it that way. And that's been historic over the years and proven to be the way. And as a matter of fact, the provincial and federal governments, for the most part, won't even give you a grant unless you're ready to go with all that stuff. So you guys got one, which is good. But
Is there another question?
well, I guess I'm just trying to say that I'm struggling with how we can do this at this time because we're not ready to go, in my opinion.
I think the CAO will just comment perhaps on the timing issue as far as when we expect to get this feasibility report back, the staff report back.
Yes, we've received the geotechnical report, which on the site we're looking at adjacent to the roller hockey box identifies a fair amount of organics that would need to be removed and replaced with proper structural fill. So that report is something that our Park Superintendent Al Fraser is working on. He's away on vacation at the moment, won't be back for a few more weeks. at which time you can take those estimates as well as court estimates that we have in terms of numbers from the rebuild at our tennis court facility at Anderton Park, and come up with a reasonable estimate as to what we're looking at.
April, May.
April, yeah, I would say early May is a better guess.
Other questions from members of council for the delegation?
Yes, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you all. I do appreciate your enthusiasm, and I agree it's a sport that's gaining traction and support. And my question is around the grant money that you have had approved. Do you know how long that you can hold on to it?
That's a good question, Barbara, and thanks for asking it. I think it goes to Ken's concern as well. And I agree with Ken's comments and the general notion of being ready or being confident in the costs for expenditures to start going out the door or the cost side. That's common sense. And I think probably why we're here this evening is because there was a sense early in the week, and still today to an extent, of urgency with respect to our accessibility to this external grant. I initiated a conversation with those individuals about the possibility of having that window broadened and having an increased amount of time so that the concerns raised by Ken there can be addressed. Or at least we are afforded more time to have Al complete that report, get that feasibility study completed, or else turn our minds to other possibilities that might be more cost effective. I need also to comment to the fact that from our perspective, we're not closed to compromise. Or our conversation about, well, gee, Steve, you talked about 6. I mean, internally we have to struggle with the question. If we're going to say goodbye to this opportunity of $25,000, maybe we need to rethink what we're asking for. Maybe we need to rethink the number of courts. Maybe we need to think, some of the things that we're initially thinking of. And so that is something that we're quite prepared to engage in a conversation with both yourselves and the folks to whom the proposal was made. I'm being kind of coy about this other party, and I need to explain why, is that there's conditions in this grant which prohibit us from going forward any public announcements without their pre-approval. And so, bear with me if I seem kind of vague on this point.
Councilor Arnott.
Yeah, could you go back a couple of slides? So you make mention about regional
district.
Regional district. Yeah, I'd like to see what you say.
Well, there was tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah. I have to admit, I did find this a little on the condescending side, and I know where you're all coming from, and I agree. But there's that old saying, you get more bees with honey. So with this, a lot of the emails that I read, some of them had where the folks are from, but would you say it's kind of broken up in a third? There's a third regional district, a third Comox, a third Courtenay with this? Because what I see here is I do hope we can all work together to get this going. But when I say all together, maybe the regional district needs to have some input in this as well. And we look at this as a regional facility, not just bearing the cost of all this to Comox. Because there is a lot of people in here that are outside of the town of Comox. And to be fair, I think we need to look at a way that we spread this around. The other thing I wanted to ask about is that right now, how many indoor courts do we have? I know we have some in Comox at the rec center. Is there some in Courtenay as well? I believe there is two. And we have how many here, Richard, 4, so we have 6. Because on the website, the pickleball website, I see a lot of the communities have indoor pickleball courts. So I think it just should be noted that we do provide a facility for pickleball. It just seems the impetus right now is let's get it outdoors, which is good, but we do provide the facility for the pickleball. So this isn't a plan that we've been talking about. It might be 5 years down the road, but we need to get it done right. So
Okay, comment to those comments. I'll jump in. I agree with your notion of a shared burden of cost.
Right.
And I don't understand, perhaps as well as you do, the mechanics of the relationships between yourselves and the regional district.
Mhm.
And it's been, and we haven't ignored those tones or those suggestions. We have engaged in conversations with Darcy Wilbert and Ian Smith, and they're aware of our organization, they're aware of our desire for outdoor courts, and we've initiated that conversation. We've also been down to the Courtney Recreation Society, I think they're called, and made a presentation to them, and I've been in recent conversations to their staff person, Dave Snyder, I think his name is, about, possibilities of other outdoor courts there too. And so short term, I agree with Russ, is that if there was some sort of mechanism by which that could be shared, the financial burden makes perfect sense to me. I'm just not familiar with the mechanics of how that would work. And if anybody on council here or staff members wants to help us with that, we welcome that assistance.
Yeah, I can see it being a partnership. Maybe we could provide some land, although I can't speak for what council wants to do, but we have land, maybe regional district has some money, maybe Courtney would like to pitch in. I think it's an angle that we need to look at instead of putting all of this on the town of Comox taxpayers. $175,000, $200,000, it's a lot of money in a small town.
I wouldn't support it if it were to get that high,
Right.
and I wouldn't think that'd be fair either. I do want to go back to your notion of the number of courts we have and the notion that pickleball opportunities are supplied. They're largely supplied through the presentation of programs which are designed for specific age categories and specific skill categories.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of our membership now is taking the view, or hold the view, and I'm one of them, is that this needs to be expanded to a family, friends, social opportunity, much like tennis. And if I want to play tennis on a Sunday afternoon, I grab my racket and go down and play tennis.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to do it with my grandkids who aren't quite old enough to do that yet, I could do that. There is no such, public facility opportunity for that. There are no pickleball courts that are free for use. There is a court, and there are times, and the rec center sets up nets, and that's what you have. And that's not quite the same as being able to play, pickleball anytime you want.
Yeah. No, and I get you, and I do support what everybody's trying to do. It's just, I think there's maybe a different way we can look at this too to spread the cost. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. We are running a bit of overtime here. I'll go a little bit further. I just wanted to remind councillors that, and perhaps the people here, there's ample precedent for this kind of regional approach or bilateral approach, even with the city of Courtney. We did that with the skateboard park.
Right.
There's service clubs that were involved, for example, in the hockey box where they play currently, outdoors in the summer. And there's lots of opportunities to pursue in that regard. The Playing Fields initiative, which was started about 15 years ago, which has resulted in the all-weather field, was started as a regional function. The fields are all over the valley, and they have been improved with regional money. So there's ample precedent for it, and as I told Steve last night in my telephone conversation with him, it may take a little longer, but we do want to do this the right way. Another question, Councillor?
It may even take less time because we don't have this money in our budget, but I was just going to reiterate what you were saying, and my thought was that we could, we look like we've got a site, we're doing the preliminary work, and what we should do is probably continue with that till we get to where we want to be, and we'll refer to the regional district for...
We'll see what comes of that before when it comes to council. It's also a situation where, yes, it has to be not only shovel ready, but it has to be money ready. And currently we have challenges in both regards. So just keep patient. Hopefully your grant can be extended. If not, it can be requested again when the time is right. Councillor McKinnon, did you have a question?
No, just I wanted to say that in fairness to this group here, when some of us had met individually with this group, we recommended Councillor Grant and myself and some of the other councillors the regional approach to CBRD, and I understand that was followed up, and so I guess I'll leave it with the sense that council here would like to be supportive, and I'll put on another hat from the past. As I recall being in my previous life, being a school administrator and being very excited about applying for and getting the opportunity for a grant, and not understanding why things can't be done immediately because we had these dollars offered by provincial or federal funding. And I guess I want to leave end the conversation by saying that it sounds like there is support around the table eventually for this. It's not shutting this down, quite the contrary. We see the value in it, but at this point in the budget, it's too quick, too soon.
All right, any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your presentation, and we'll proceed with the rest of the meeting. All right, so give them a minute. The roller hockey rink cost is $40 to just put it surface down.
And it's no good anymore.
Oh, they fixed it.
Yeah, they fixed it up.
But I don't know the cost of putting it in wood.
Wasn't free.
All right. Moving on with the agenda, we'll go to minutes of meetings. So for approval, we have the March 2nd council meeting minutes. Second. For approval then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then we have the minutes of the Mackling Nature House Advisory Committee meeting for approval. That meeting is February 12th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Management report for receipt.
Move. Second.
Receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Staff are looking at the tender results. I don't know if CEO wishes to comment further on the Marina Boardwalk stuff.
Not at present, we're just going back and forth with the architect right now. We should have something for the next committee meeting, or will it be the next council meeting?
Committee meeting will be next week.
Next week, yes.
Okay. And yeah, I saw some reference to the fixed-wing training facility earlier this week, an email exchange with the Economic Development Society. One of the proponents is apparently trying to arrange for some sort of public presentation here, so it's still in the tender process there at the federal level.
I actually was in a meeting today and we briefly talked about this, and they said that Comox seems to be a little bit higher up in the running for the point scale that they're given. They like the fact Comox.
Let's not delay.
High weather, but that's good for this.
Well, the very terrain, I think, is what's most important.
Yeah.
That facility. Okay. Seeing none, then we'll move on to the first item of new business here. Sorry, actually, forgot about these. So, rising reporting. We just wanted to rise and report on the Mackling Advisory Committee appointments. And back on December 9th, we resolved in camera to appoint Councillors Mark Grant, Maureen Swift, and then Russ Arnott as alternate, along with Al Fraser, Angela Burns, Pam Mountain, Christian Hodgson, and Terry Chester and Mark Willett to that committee. And also a rise and report on the Town of Comox Heritage Award, and that's related to an event that will happen this Saturday for the unveiling of the 102nd Battalion exhibit, and that will be awarding the 2016 Heritage Award to Kay Bucka, who passed away unfortunately the last little bit. She was recently the curator of the museum. So that presentation will happen at 2 o'clock on Saturday.
2 till 4 the event.
2 till 4, yeah. So we'll have a suitable plaque for that, and hopefully people can come out to see the opening of the exhibit.
In the museum.
Thank you. All right, so under new business, we have the rezoning application that we heard earlier from Mr. Edmondson on. That's 1823.
Move first and second reading.
Second that.
Any discussion on the first and second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
I move public hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
And any idea of a date there, Mr. Planner?
No, not this.
Okay. Fair enough. We'll leave it at that for now. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. So that moves us on to correspondence. First letter from Shailene Stiggins.
Move receipt.
And this is regarding the Murrelet Gardens area. That's the site, the vacant property in the vicinity of Quality Foods. So CAO, anything there that's light some?
Shelley Russwurm was speaking with the bylaw enforcement officer. She can provide a bit of an update on the site.
Okay.
Yes, so we have received complaints regarding this property in the past. Various complaints on the hazards associated with initial construction of the site. Complaints against the unsightliness of it, the weeds, the blackberries, the broom that's growing on the property. And then complaints about the fence, which this one I believe is mainly talking about. Just background, the hazards have been taken care of long ago. The unsightliness related to the broom, and she talks a little bit about the unsightliness as well, broom and blackberries, that is. As unappealing as they may be, they're not regulated in our property maintenance and public nuisance bylaw, which mainly deals with noxious weeds, and broom and blackberries aren't noxious. Regarding the fence, my understanding is that the fence was installed as part of the construction as security measures around the initial construction of the property, on the property. And my understanding is that the property owner chose to keep the fence up because to prevent cars from entering onto the property. So even though we could regulate the fence under our zoning bylaw, staff have been hesitant to do that because we think it may lead, if the fence is removed, it may lead to more complaints regarding cars entering the property. It's fairly level and easily accessed from the road. We know cars do cut through just to the, I believe it's the east of the fence portion, which we think might lead to more complaints regarding dust or even mud and dirt trapped onto the road, dumping and things like that.
Okay, so no specific action being taken?
No specific action.
Is there a possibility of correspondence with the owner of that property, which I understand is probably Slight Lumber?
Yes.
Asking to keep it clean, kind of thing, or it's a good neighbor?
Regarding the weeds, we have, or the blackberries rather, we do talk to him. He's very easy to deal with.
Yeah.
He does keep there's a pathway on the opposite end, the west end of the property that accesses the Quality Foods development. And he's very good at keeping the weeds kind of contained to the property.
Fair enough.
Has there been any indication of when development might happen there? Is that something that's been...
It's up for sale now, so.
It's been for sale for some time. There have been various proponents looking at it. I don't think we have any applications at this time. I hear from time to time that there's a deal imminent, but then it kind of goes away. So it's one of those things that the market will determine that as time goes on. Councillor Swift?
I wonder if we have any ability to suggest to them that, at least going along that one roadway, that it be a solid fence? And that they wouldn't be looking at the weeds and,
Along the Murrelet itself.
yeah.
Yeah, then you get into maintenance and expense costs.
It's not unsightly either. So we don't have, I mean, we can ask nicely, but
Yes.
there's no
Yeah.
requirement for them to do so.
No, I guess I understand that. I just thought if they were aware that we have continuing concerns, that maybe they would be a really good neighbor.
Sure. Well, I guess we can continue to work on that basis. We do understand that Slight Lumber, they do know how to put fencing as well. But
They have it.
doesn't come cheap.
It's not free, yeah.
To them, it might be a little cheaper than the
Maybe.
average.
And I think on the Courtney, the Courtney property that she it talks about is the city of Courtney actually put that
That's the
fence
Palace
up.
Theater.
Yeah, the Palace Theater site, so they actually pay for that fence to go around.
All right, anything further on that? Seeing none, then second, just to receive it. That's all done, so you'll respond accordingly with some of that information. Okay, Next letter is a letter from Mosaic Capital, and specifically John McKay, their CEO, regarding Compass Adventure.
I move receipt.
Second. And all those in favor? Motion's carried. It's a nice letter talking about the programs that are offered by Compass Adventure down at the waterfront. Suggesting that we stop being so quiet about it, but I think we try to promote it as much as we can, and certainly through the BIA, work with Compass Adventure and some of their initiatives, the Tuesday night paddles and so on. If there are any further comments? Okay, with that, nice letter we get. Letter from the Third Crossing Society.
Move receipt.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. And just to be clear, this is not the third crossing here in Courtenay that we talked about. This is the third crossing over on the Sunshine Coast. They're specifically asking for funding, and I don't believe we've ever contributed in any way to that. And I don't propose that we do, but that's what they're asking for. I think someone may have asked if we contributed to that before, and I don't believe. So, I mean, it's an initiative that's not unlike the initiative to build another road through the Horn Lake area to connect through Port Alberni, but I don't think we'd have any particular reason to contribute unless somebody wants to. All right, so we'll just move on. Yes. The next letter is by Howdy email regarding airport. So
Move receipt of that.
second, I'll receive that. All in favor? Just for your information, the city of Courtenay has passed a resolution to look into this issue with Island Health. A number of years ago, a few years ago, there was a monitoring station put at Courtenay Elementary School. And I think prior to that, there wasn't any specific monitoring. So now that those results have come out, people are raising concerns. And I've signed a couple letters back that staff have drafted regarding this issue, so perhaps CEO, you could summarize what we've said in terms of the wood stove exchange program, the burning notices, and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, we'll repeat that information too.
Okay.
Yeah. And just, do you remember the name of the group that came to the regional district? It was from the province.
Oh, yeah.
I forget who it was anyway. They came and talked about the monitoring and how they did this. And some of the questions, I asked them, I said, I find it hard to believe that our valley is worse off than, say, the Cowichan Valley or any other valleys. And the guy said that, sometimes the smoke can be generated somewhere else, and it comes and then it just sits down in the valley. So whether or not the smoke's all coming from our own valley, or whether we're getting it going in from Campbell River or somebody else, and then it just sits over us, it's hard to say, and they didn't have the answer to that, but he said totally, the rationale, it's a very good possibility that could be what's going on too. So until they continue on with the monitoring, and they also kind of admitted that we have really the best monitoring system in the province and probably in the country right now because it's the newest, and some of these other monitoring stations are pretty old and maybe not quite as accurate. So we may be, I'm not saying our air quality is great, but we may be getting a more accurate reading than other places are, which could be contributing to us looking a little worse than we do. So all of those things came up, but they didn't, they were just there to tell us about the monitoring, not the causes of all of that. So glad to see Courtney's looking into that.
Yeah, and I think the regional district's also undertaken some education initiatives in terms of burning wood smart.
Yeah, and I think Councillor Grant raised some good points. Just remembering last summer when we had the big fires on the mainland, how the smoke came in and it actually changed the colour of the sun. So and that was from across the water. So I certainly encouraging people to get their stoves updated, and never a better time when there is this grant available, and continuing in that. And I think the regional district is probably a good place to be focusing those efforts.
Anything further? Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I applaud the regional district for the exchange program with wood stoves. Is there any indication on how that's going? How the response
The
is being?
uptake is, sorry, the uptake on the wood stove program, we know of.
No, the regional district just renewed that program, so they said there is still a strong interest in it. But I don't have any exact numbers as to how many have been exchanged last year.
It might be interesting for us to see how many Comox residents partake in that and update, and if there's any chance we could get some data down the road. I think these are very good initiatives, and we should be mindful of it for sure.
Yep. I think we can probably follow up with some of that information for sure with the staff.
Has there been any discussion at all with Fortis Gas to give incentives to maybe use a gas stove? For example, in my house years ago when I moved in, I had a wood burning fireplace, took it out, put in a gas fireplace, and I just paid my bill online yesterday. It was $60 for a month, and that's including a gas range. So, $60 isn't bad for our main source of heat in the house. So, we look at recycling old wood burners with new wood burners. Maybe, there's discussion with Fortis to actually give a break to put a gas line to a house or a gas appliance.
Yeah, maybe sometimes when you get your bill, there is material included in there which talks about various incentives that they offer, but I don't know what's currently on that. Of course, there's those that consider burning wood to be a good thing in terms of being a renewable resource and relatively cheap, and so there's lots of debate on both sides of the issue.
I like it on Goose Beach.
Yes. All right, so we'll move on to the next item. And this was something that came to me, and I thought we should bring it to council in terms of consideration. This is the email requesting membership in the Vancouver Economic Alliance.
I would move receipt, and then I don't know much about this group, so maybe
We'll talk a little bit about it. So on receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. So this is a group that's been going probably for the better part of 10 years. They're obviously covering the whole Vancouver Island region. Every fall, at the end of October, they offer a summit of significance where people can go and hear different speakers, workshop, kind of stuff, businesses, local governments, governmental organizations. Gone to a couple of them. They're very well attended, and they seem to be useful. They're self-funded. They're not supported other than through membership. You can see the membership rate structure for corporations and communities with populations over 10,000 would be $1,000 annually. That's their main event, and then they also do this annual report, or the State of the Island Economic Report, which was presented actually here locally in January through Myers Norris Penny. There's lots of good information there. You don't have to be a member to go to the summit or to get a copy of the report. I know here that Cumberland is a member, as is Kamloops River. It would be $1,000 if we wanted to be a member. It wouldn't give you anything other than membership information. As I say, if you want to go to the conference, you can. So on that basis, I've never really felt the need to pay for a membership, other than perhaps if you wanted to support it. Of course, we do our own contributions towards economic development through the regional district.
I just wonder if maybe before we sign up or don't sign up, if they would want to come and just give us a little dog and pony show as to what they really do.
They certainly could, and they would.
That might make some sense.
Yeah, we could certainly invite them to do so. That's just a particular motion, I think. So we just receive it and invite them to make a presentation at some point in the near future. I'm sure that Mr. Hanson or one of his executives will come up. So anything further? Okay, we'll move on then. So we'll extend that invitation when we let them know that we received the letter. All right, so that actually is it for the agenda prior to the public hearing. The other item that's on there regarding the zoning amendment is something that we would reconvene this council meeting after the public hearing, should council wish to do so. So this, pardon? We can do reports from members of the council if we're relatively, we got 10 minutes for that, so let's do that. Councilor Margraf.
Barbara's often.
Okay, I'm going to my notes, so there you go. I'll try to keep mine brief too. To begin, New Horizons grant, I'm talking first of all for the seniors board meeting, which I attended on Monday. The New Horizons grant was received, and they were happy to receive $8,000, so that puts good dollars into the coffers. They reported they have 753 members, and something that I learned was the association fundraises a great deal, and they use these dollars to subsidize their kitchen to help keep the cost of meals affordable, which was good news. Also, their AGM was on Tuesday. The AGM started with a defibrillator presentation. We all now know how to use that properly. It was very well done. And there were two very interesting motions that were passed. One, it had an age change. They found that 55 years and up was a little bit too old. They're now changed it to 50 years. They're looking for a little bit of youth and vitality. And it was passed overwhelmingly. Really? Yes.
I did.
I was hoping we'd get some more membership.
Yeah, they want to get the cheap hundred. Yeah.
Also, they've changed the name. Interestingly enough, they've been calling themselves the Comox Seniors Association for a number of years, and through the course of conversation about our heritage and where our town is going, and recognizing the people from way back when, they've decided to revert back to the Stairs Senior Center Association instead of just Comox Senior Center. So there we are. Dusty will be pleased, I'm sure. I attended a farewell tea for our librarian, Nancy Duncan, and interestingly, I received an email already from the person taking over. So that's great. They're on their toes over there. She was very pleased to receive our farewell card too. Also, I met with Amy. Now, I won't pronounce this one yet, to understand the shortfall in our transit system. She apparently is going to be making a presentation to council too. There's some concern about the buses taking side route down along Beaufort Avenue so as to accommodate the senior center, the Stairs Senior Center, and the library. So she's making some good moves in that direction.
Is she a representative of the organization, or is she?
No, she isn't. She's speaking on her own and getting everyone together, yes.
Does she talk to the regional district about the?
She is. She's in the process. I think the seniors were the first on her list. I believe she's going to be approaching us and beyond that as well. She has been in touch with individuals at the regional district level.
Isn't there a staff member there that's?
Yes, Sabarsky.
Mike Sabarsky.
I'm sorry?
She's talking to Mike Sabarsky.
Yes, that's the gentleman. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Also, I was very pleased to serve as a chair for the museum AGM. For inviting me. And now, to the big one. Oh, how much time do I have? Oh, I only have 6 minutes. I have got...
Yeah, that was for everybody.
Oh, darn. I know what I'll do. Having given this much, I will pass the CSWM presentation over to my partner and thus save time.
We can always come back to it.
Okay.
Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, on March 3rd, I was attended with some other councillors, the water park meeting hosted by Comox Rotary and the town and BIA here, and they're moving forward, proceeding with that, and we're thinking positive in that regard. Maple Lake committee meeting a couple of days later. Nothing new to report there, just making progress and trying to take the steps in place to possibly purchase Maple Lake. Attended a student Rotary Interact Gala at the Destair Center across the way last week, dinner and auction. Great to see students involved with that. Attended a Comox Valley Homeless Coalition meeting as the rep from council here. I found out information and referred a couple of citizens that were interested in busking in our downtown core, and found out myself that there's an audition that's required. I'm not sure if Richard or Shelley do the auditions, but I was most impressed with that.
We'll be bringing Simon Cowell.
I'm not sure if he's coming over, but, and also a community garden referral from Gallardi School that purchased the Brooklyn School course, and they're interested in putting in a community garden and referred them on to town staff. Finally, I went to the Comox Rec, what I thought was a meeting about the Azure children, missing Azure children, and I went to show some support. When I got there, there was a circle group that was drumming, and an exercise group with the ball exercises with the drum paraphernalia. So an hour and a half later, drenched in soap and in vegetables, I concluded that meeting. So it was a unique experience showing support for the Ezra children, and we hope successfully they get back to the valley eventually. Thank you, that's my report.
Thank you. Councilor Price?
Yes, well, I attended the Sewage Commission, the Water Committee and the RD Committee as a whole. I guess the highlight of the Sewage Commission was looking at this flow adjustment that we've been talking about that has been showing too much flow from Comox versus Courtney. So looking at the adjustment, the 10% increase has a $500,000 impact on Courtney, and we're looking at 76,000 less. So I mean, it's good news for Comox, except we never used that flow anyway. We were being overcharged, and perhaps even going back to 2003. So that's the big issue. We have managed to get the flow adjusted back. So we've got 1 year correct flow for 2016 measure. What was really good that there was an agreement, close vote, but that the staff get together, Comox Courtney staff get together and look at how do we look at the past, how can we bring some fairness into it. There was a move to change a successful move actually, to change our financial plan. We have had a plan, and it was looking at 10% increase this year based on the study that looked at our needs. And so both Councillor Grant and I weren't comfortable in arbitrarily changing those figures to cushion that. So, but it did pass. But really glad that we are going to have that discussion and see if we can get some fairness. And there will be a new re-looking at the asset management plan will be undertaken this year. So that was the main issue, and budgets, working through budgets. With the committee as a whole, we did again have the request from UROC in Cumberland for help with the trail maintenance. Now they've got the agreements together with the forestry companies, and they were asking, I think it was 45,000. They were given an extra 5,500 out of that. I chaired the ABICC teleconference organising our convention for Nanaimo in April, also at the CAMS AGM, and we had, it was a great presentation on the 102nd Battalion and the Just for Joy singers. There is actually a battalion song of the 102nd, which we won't sing. And that's
Unless you want to do it yourself.
No, I'm not known for my singing. So thank you, that's my report.
So we're going to break there. We'll carry on with the other reports, and where Councillor Mark wants to give her further details on the solid waste, we can do that after the public hearing. So at this point in time, we basically move into a public hearing. Is there anything other than adoption of the agenda that has to do that?
No.
A motion to adopt the agenda for the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Motion's carried. And this is a public hearing to consider the rezoning application 15-9 for the community gardens at the Pentecostal Church. And there's an opening statement, so we'll move forward with that. It's a public hearing under Section 890 of the Local Government Act for the purpose of hearing representations from people that believe their interests are affected by this zoning bylaw. We've given it first and second reading, but not yet third reading or adoption. Notices have been published of this hearing in accordance with the Local Government Act, and copies of all material are available for inspection at Town Hall. To maintain order and ensure everyone has a reasonable opportunity to be heard, we're asking that each person sign the speaker's list. That'll be located over here to my right, your left, and then you begin your presentation by stating your name and address. If you need to speak again after the 5 minutes are up, you will have to sign the speaker's list again. Everyone will be given an opportunity to be heard, and no one should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views. In terms of what we're dealing with then, in general terms, the zoning amendment bylaw makes some housekeeping amendments to the assembly center definition to exclude community gardens, which would remove the ability to have such a garden in commercial, C31, C41, marine commercial, and 2.1, PA1, which is public assembly, and then the NDCFA Comox. Also adding a new definition of community garden use, and adding as a permitted use community garden to the PA 1.1 public assembly, P1.1 park, and open space zones. And also in the public assembly zone, not require the community gardens to be set back from the rear and interior side lot lines, and to provide setbacks for the accessory buildings that may be required. Written submissions should be presented to the clerk before the close of this public hearing, and the bylaw is now open for discussion. Is there any speakers list? Thank you. So we have one speaker on the list, which is Aaron Gregory. Do you wish to speak to this matter? Okay, just come to the podium.
I'm Aaron Gregory. My address is 2235 Indians Way, in Comox, and B9N, 3Y9. I'm just here to speak in support of the zoning amendment. I think it will help facilitate suburban agriculture, which is becoming more popular, and in particular, this will help our project that we are proposing to turn some unused land into fertile soil for what we are tentatively naming the Common Ground Community Garden. And we're hoping that this will be a great way to promote healthy, nutritious, and low-cost social and recreational activities in the Comox Valley. And also we are hoping that the screening requirement will be removed to promote better access, sunlight exposure, and safety on the northwest corner where we are proposing the garden. Thank you for your attention and assistance.
Thank you, Aaron. Any further speakers on the list? No. So for the first time, before closing the public hearing, I have to call 3 times for any further speakers. So for the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? The second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? There being no further speakers, I declare this public hearing closed. So that will then allow us to reconvene back to the council meeting. And we'll carry on with Councillor Swift.
Thank you. Since we last reported out, I attended the Regional Hospital meeting, the Solid Waste meeting, Sewage Commission, and the Filbert regular board meeting. The only thing I would add to Councillor Price's description of the Sewage Commission was the fact that we're hoping to move the open house up for the pump station site to sometime early in May. Right? Yeah. So we'll hope to go ahead with that. At the Filbert meeting, just a reminder, the AGM is this Saturday at the Lodge at 2 p.m. So we'll see how that goes. And the solid waste was kind of an interesting and a long meeting again. The Courtney Council had come forth with a proposal to change the requisition to be paid by population rather than assessment. And thanks to our CFO, he had done a lot of number crunching and come up with some figures, and the proposition was soundly defeated at the table. There was really not a lot of interest in it. So that was one thing, and then a greater interest maybe was there's a private company, Uplands Excavation, and they've applied to the Ministry of Environment for an operational certificate, and they are, I believe, just south of the Campbell River run. They're in Campbell River, Maine. And what they're hoping to do, it has been a gravel pit for years, and they've been gradually expanding their business. And they're wanting to go and create their own landfill. And what they're looking for in the immediate future is to take non-hazardous waste. So construction and demolition materials, soil, and land clearing debris. And perhaps working in the future into some other areas. They're not interested in organics, but perhaps asbestos disposal, which has been, we had significant discussion at the table around asbestos disposal. Currently, if you have asbestos, you have to take it to Victoria. And the tipping fees in Victoria are expected to double in the near future for out-of-area residents. So there's also some discussions going to be taking place to see if Nanaimo can accommodate our asbestos, but they may not be ready to take it till 2017. So currently, if you have asbestos, you need to take it to Victoria. That's the only option. But there is interest in developing closer to home solutions. So maybe this Uplands Excavation Company may be something to look at in the future. So, and that's my report.
Right, Councillor Arnott?
That's the asbestos report I heard.
No!
I knew you were going to.
First of all, thank you to Councillor McKinnon, who went to the dinner for the Community Justice Center. Ben Robinson was presenting, and I was out of town. So thank you. I did have a community justice meeting last week that I attended, and things are going well there. Back a bit, because we haven't met and I was out of town, I did participate in the coldest night of the year walk, the Comox Valley Transition Society Dawn to Dawn, where they raised $57,000, $7,000 over their goal. So that was a good event, and that'll be all for today.
Thanks. Councillor Arnott?
Yeah, I also attended the water park meeting, the sewer meeting, the water meeting, and the committee of the whole. And I think we adjusted the flow meter for 2015, and we got last year's in as well, I think, because we haven't paid the bill yet, and ongoing.
Yes.
So I think that was the adjustment that we made. And it was an interesting conversation on that. Courtney, of course, thought that it was fair to just go from 2015 onward and forget the past, and we didn't really let them off the hook on that. Their argument is that it's hard to determine when this might have gone awry, but the argument back was, well, surely it wasn't in 2015. It must have been before then, so we're looking for some fairness there. So hopefully that will work out for us, and I think Councillor Price talked about all the other things, so leave it at that.
Councillor Marquand, did you have anything further to add?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. Thank you. Just a couple of points with regard to our CSWM, and isn't it wonderful how we all focus on different things. Just of interest regarding the Uplands Excavating, who are applying for their operational certificate. They did mention in their presentation that 40% of their employees come from the Comox Valley, which I thought was interesting. And another thing, particularly since we continually get correspondence regarding open burning, it was also of interest to note that they, Uplands Excavating, will be allowed to burn 4 times a year and in the amount of 750 cubic meters. Yes, so, and there was no comment about that, actually. It was, oh, okay. So, just an interesting point. And if I could go back to my library report, if I might, since I'm the last one to speak.
You're already there.
I'll take advantage of it. I'd just like to read that the young lady who's taken over from our Nancy Duncan, the former librarian, mentions this. Nancy mentioned that you would like for us to have a collection of Hamilton Lang's works. I agree. I have hunted down a number of his published works and hopefully these will be approved and I can purchase them. So I thought that was good.
Cool.
A good beginning for her. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, I'll just give a brief report. I missed the last meeting. I was in Vancouver for the Shellfish Festival launch, very successful launch, over 200 people in attendance. And this year's event is looking to be bigger and better than ever, June 9th to 19th. Attended the Sven Robinson lecture, also the Anna fundraiser, which raised, you mentioned 57,000, they raised 87,000, so the community's hearts, and this was called the Big Love Benefit, and the community came out and supported yet another great cause. A couple of presentations I've done over the last few weeks, one to Elder College on the role of local government in the Comox Valley, governance generally speaking, and also bright and early at the Strathcona Sunrise, talk about a similar presentation I had done at Comox Rotary in terms of the state of the town and some of the projects that we're doing and where our operational and financial opportunities and challenges are. Cycling Coalition, I think probably Councillor Price spoke to that. They do have an online cycling map, which they were promoting. And so take a look at that. I'm sure we can link you through to that if you want to see it. Attended the opening ceremony for the Midget Provincial Hockey Tournament last Sunday night, and that was good. All three mayors were there to help drop the puck. And yesterday afternoon attended the North Courtenay Connector open house on the much anticipated North Courtenay Connector $15 million project. We have a preferred route. It's out for public comment. It's online, but I'll get this circulated to council as well. And all things going well, construction starting this fall for completion in the fall of 2017. So that's good to see that level of investment in our community as we look forward to replacing what was once called a temporary bridge. And I actually did ask, I said, are you going to leave that bridge in place? And one of the staff said, no, actually we're going to take it out because we might need it to use it somewhere else on a temporary basis. It's been there 15 years. So. Yeah, hard to believe. And I'll just mention briefly that this Friday night we have the 6th annual Mayor's Cup Hockey game. All proceeds towards Comox Valley Kids Sport. 7 p.m. at Sports Center 1. And I'll be hopefully raising the trophy again in Comox's name. We won it 4 of the last 5 years, so we'll see what happens this year. But that'll be a good fun and good conclusion to our hockey season. So that's it for council reports. We have media questions this time, and I'm sure that Spencer Anderson wants to welcome us back with a very tough question. He was working in a 9-1 up till recently, and they threw him out because he was causing too much trouble. So
look what he did there.
Yeah.
The only question I have is, how do you guys have age today?
Oh, you're very kind.
What do you want?
Influence.
Well, nice to see you back.
Nice to be back.
And of course, welcome your questions, but none from the record, okay?
Off the record, yeah.
All right, public questions regarding council agenda? No? We do have an in-camera meeting, so at this time, a motion to include the public under section 91D of the... Sorry?
Go back to the...
Bylaws, oh yes.
Garden?
Community gardens, yes, we want to do that. Yeah, I assume you want to do that. For bylaw 1832, we're going to be considering third reading of council sees
I move third reading.
Second.
Any discussion at third reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And adoption of the bylaw.
Move adoption.
Second.
All right. All those in favor? Motion's carried. So we get planning.
Great.
Now we can exclude the public. So a motion to exclude the public under section 1A is required.
Move.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Yeah,